against the drag and used his right arm to pull himself through the water. His eyes flared with shadow light an instant before he struck the webbed spell song of the barrier. The barrier he himself, under Fendrel's orders, had set around Dunlock days ago. Even if he had the time, even if he had the strength to swim for shore, he couldn't break through that. He surfaced again, and his right arm flailed in the air, desperately grasping at nothing. Light flared in his hand, in the center of his palm, mounting with power he could not understand, could not control. "Trust me," a voice whispered, a hissing heat in his head. Fingers outspread, he struck at the song spell barrier. Where his hand touched, light flashed in a blinding bolt. The spell threads burned, broke, and the air shivered with discordant notes as the spell came undone. Not completely, just a seam, a narrow slit. It was enough. He burst through the snare-like threads and out into the open water beyond. Paralysis spread swiftly now. He couldn't keep his head above water anymore. With a last gulp of air, he went under, and despair overcame him. As heavy and cold as the ice-laced waves. It didn't matter that he'd escaped the barrier. It didn't matter that he'd avoided the deadly darts of his pursuers. He would drown, and his soul would be damned to the haunts forever. Heretic that he was. The goddess had surely forsaken him. "Trust me." He shivered at the heat of that voice searing through his brain. But suddenly, his eyes widened as a light flared in the darkness underwater. His right hand, still only just under his control, burned brilliantly with the light of a fallen star. He felt the power building in his arm, building in his soul. Power enough to shatter him into 1,000,000 pieces if he did not let it out. "Trust me, mortal." Terran turned his hand, pointing it behind him. His fingers clenched into a tight fist, gathering all that pent-up force into a single point, a ball of pure magic energy. Then he opened his hand and let it burst free. The force of the blast propelled his leaden body through the water faster than a leaping salmon. Magic channeled through his arm, so hot he was certain his bones would melt. In a few seconds, the poison overtook his shade, dousing its power so completely. The effect was like a solar eclipse, but it had lasted long enough to fling him to the shore, to leave him tangled in weeds at the shallow edge of the holy lake, where the water was no deeper than his knees. With a final propulsion of pure will, Terran flung out his right hand, caught hold of a stone, and pulled up his head. His mouth and nose broke the water's surface. It would do him no good in the end, he knew. He might not drown, but he would surely freeze to death long before the paralysis wore off. Darkness closed in. Darkness more absolute than the lake depths. He couldn't fight it. Not even shade magic could drive these shadows away. "Ayleth," he whispered, his numb lips scarcely moving. "Ayleth, The darkness claimed him. "They found me on the day of my wedding. I will never forget how they came riding into my cousin's estate, their red hoods pulled over their heads so far that you could not see their faces. I will never forget the shock I felt when the foremost of their number threw back her hood, and I saw that she was a woman, and that she was the leader of the other two. I had believed a woman's lot in life to be limited only to that which I now faced. Marriage to some fat, hideous-souled man, to serve in his household, most likely to die bearing his brats. The woman on horseback before me was a figure of power. She commanded the respect of all who looked upon